Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him two lips like roses and clover, and tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone, don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him the word that I'm not a rover, and tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone, ain't got nobody to call my own. So please turn on your magic beam, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Good evening, and
Mr. Sandman, bring us a dream. Give him a pair of eyes with a come hither gleam. Give him a lonely heart like Pagliacci, and lots of wavy hair like Liberace. Sandman, someone to hold. We'll be so beachy before we are too old. So please turn on your magic beam, Mr. Sandman, bring us. Please, please bring us, Mr. Sandman, bring us a dream.
hey guys, hold on a second. Not sure we're listening.
Man, bring me a dream.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him the word that I'm not a rover, and tell him that his lonesome nights are over.
Right, my mic's working.
Sandman, I'm so alone, ain't got nobody to call my own. So please turn on your magic beam, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Mr. Sandman, bring me a
Good evening, and stays through the whole.
Mr. Sandman, bring us a dream. Give
Just
him a
don't start.
pair of eyes with a come hither gleam. Give him a lonely heart like Pagliacci, and lots of wavy hair like Liberace. Sandman, someone to hold. We'll be so beachy before we are too old.
It actually didn't.
Mr. Sandman, bring us, please, please bring us, Mr.
Well, no, it's right at the beginning. And it, yeah, because I didn't show off, so it finished the full. We were probably talking over a lot.
Are you?
It's all good. Continue. I apologize.
I don't think we came from. I don't think we crawled out of the sea. At least I don't think so. It's my opinion. But I do believe in a creator.
Okay, excellent. And you already answered that you are a sign. So we've kind of got some background info on you to gauge the tides. So let's move on to dreaming. I want to start with, do you dream? And if you do you have dream recall, and how often? Is it a daily thing? Is it once in a while? Is it just stuff that is really crazy?
I do have dream recall. I do dream, not as often as I used to. I used to dream like every night, and then I would always have recall of what my dreams were. And I've had dreams that have been endless, over and over and over. Dream the same thing for years. I had this one dream for years. And then lately, I didn't dream for a long time because I don't sleep very often, which is really bad. But and so I don't think that I let myself get into like a REM state very often. But now I've been dreaming for about the last two good weeks that I can recall, and I remember most of the dreams.
Excellent. It
depends on if somebody wakes me up. Like if I'm jolted awake, I can't remember.
Yeah, because you have to immediately engage.
Exactly.
In this
There's
experience.
you're not waking up like going, oh wow, that was a weird dream.
Do you dream in black and white or color, or both?
Color.
Okay.
Yeah, and probably both. I mean, but for the most part, it's color.
Is it? And so when you when you're experiencing color, is it sage? Is it crisp? Is it like this, or is it? How is the color?
It's crisp.
Okay, so it's pretty much like we experience it here.
Exactly.
Crisp and clean with no caffeine.
Exactly. Do you ever encounter words and glyphs, numbers, details, like left brain details?
Not that I can remember right now. I don't remember really any numbers or any type of signs or anything like that that's jumping out at me. I have to think about that one.
Have you ever had any dreams come true that are notable?
I know I have. I just don't remember right this minute. Well, okay. One dream. Okay, I'll tell you about a dream I had in Southern California. I dreamt that there was a big fire, like a building had caught on fire, and there was just this massive amount of scurrying around. There was just all this commotion and confusion and stuff. And I woke up and I was like, what the hell was that about? And then on the news, there had been a fire in a warehouse downtown, and like a firefighter had gotten hurt. And that's when I lived in Southern California. I think that was back in like 2011.
Wow. So on you mentioned reoccurring stuff recently. What are the details there?
No, it wasn't recently that I had this reoccurring dream. It happened for about a good 5 years when it was I think right before I had Jack. So when my older kids were in middle school, and then I was having Jack and Ben. So it happened within like a 5, maybe 6 year period. And it was the dream was I was like in the town square sitting on a toilet, and I had to wipe, but everybody could see me, and I didn't know how to wipe without anybody seeing me.
What sort of bowel movement was it?
Did you have a squatty potty?
Did you have the shits, or was it like a turd?
I don't know. It never, like, I always thought that it was like, I'd gone poop and then, I had to wipe, but I don't know. It could have just been pee. I don't know. It was all focused on how am I going to wipe without anybody seeing me?
This is actually classic.
Yeah. And I dove into it, and I think I even talked to somebody who was like a dream. I may have even talked to a therapist about it, and she said it was that I felt vulnerable.
Yeah, exposed and all that.
Exposed, right. Which makes sense,
How long ago was this time frame?
This would have been about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So the end of it was like 10 years ago. So about 6 years. It's 2016. So Jack was born in 98. I would say probably 1997 to 2000, probably 2003, 2004. Maybe it might even last longer. It was mainly the kids in school, and I was always fighting with the school. Like, so I know that was a big proponent of it.
What period of time, this is kind of on an aside, but it's all related. What period of time did you start digging deeper into our social dynamic that we have, that you're now such a great researcher of these details? Was it around this period, or was that after?
No, it was much later. It was when I really started doing the deep research. It's only been about 2.5 years, maybe
Okay.
3. Really, really in-depth research.
Yeah.
Surfacely researching stuff probably started around 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, we got screwed over in the housing market crash.
Yes.
Yeah, so 2008, 2009, that's when I became very unhinged about the government and all the fuckery that was happening, and so I started looking into it.
Started sniffing around. Do you recall dreams from that period? This is kind of a genesis for you of a new, of digging a little deeper.
Well, I had some really bizarre dreams in Southern California when we were there. And that was 2011 to 2013. I can't really recall any right now that were other than that period of time, and that's when I really started digging deep. But I don't know, from 2009 to that period of time. I can't really. Nothing's jumping out at me.
Okay. And lucidity is kind of where I'm going next. Do you have lucid dreams? Do you get cues? What's your experience with lucidity in what we call the dream land?
I do get cues, and I have purposely controlled dreams in the past. And as far as lucidity, I've actually stopped dreams as well. So I don't know if that's what you're meaning by lucidity are you talking about in my dreams or after I wake up, or
Like James last week he could control his dreams when he wasn't scared of them completely.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
where you're in a state like this, where you're really feeling, you basically know you're dreaming, yet you're not out of body, but you're aware that you're dreaming.
Correct. Yeah. And I've steered them and I've stopped them.
Do you have any experience with night terrors or nightmares?
Or
when I was a kid, I did.
How about sleep paralysis?
I had that once in Southern California, which was
tell us about that. I'm very interested in that.
It was shortly. I don't know if it was the same night. The boys, we were at my two youngest boys, Jack and Ben, at their friend JJ's house in Laguna Niguel, and he lived over off of a hill, and Oceanside's not that far, which is Camp Pendleton. But we all saw something in the sky, and like they saw it split apart and go 2 different ways. And so then there was this huge talk about that, and it was either that night or shortly after. I had sleep paralysis where I woke up and I couldn't move, and it freaked me out. And where I slept, so I slept on the couch in a recline, on the recliner part of the couch. But I had this big window. As you walked up the first landing of the stairs, there was a big window, and I could always see planes flying by and stuff, and I could see stars. I could see the sky really well. And I remember looking up at that window and just, not being able to move. And it was scary because I wanted to get up, but I couldn't. And then I think I just made myself relax, and then it finally went away. So I don't know if that had anything to do with what we saw. I have no idea. It was just bizarre. But those two things seemed like they were interconnected. And the window thing was kind of freaky. A lot.
Yeah, I think they're totally interconnected. I'm going to hold here for a second. Are we having audio issues?
No, I was not muted.
Oh, okay. So was it the paralysis, was it at all scary?
I think it was, I don't think that I think I was mad. I recall being mad.
Interesting.
Not being afraid. Because, well, okay, so when I had Jack too, I had what is it an epidural. But so with Jack, it wore off fairly fast and I could get up and walk around. But with Ben, it lasted for hours and hours and I could not move my legs.
No.
I couldn't feel my legs.
Oh, that's terrible.
So it was like that. I was so frustrated that I could not feel my legs. And people were having to move my legs,
That is a great comparison, though, to the experience.
That's exactly what it felt like. But it felt, it was like whole body, like I could move my head. That was it. I couldn't move the rest of me, or I could move. Maybe I couldn't move my head. It seemed like I had a little bit of head movement, but I could not move the rest of me. And that's all I could compare it to was, it was like having an epidural.
Yeah, that's as perfect of a comparison as I've ever heard. Do you ever get any feedback from anyone that's around you while you're sleeping that you're talking or making any audible noise?
When I was a kid, I talked in my sleep all the time. I walked I was a huge sleepwalker. And the boy, sometimes when I'm starting to doze, if one of the boys comes in and starts talking to me, like I'll start talking to them and I'll just say some random shit that doesn't make any sense to what they said. And then I'll like snap out of, kind of being like on the cusp of sleeping and realize what I said. And I'll go, oh, never mind, like, cause they're like, what? And they know by now, what's going to happen if I'm in that dozing off period.
Yeah, I love that state. Is fascinating to me,
I know,
especially the things people will say. Yeah.
So awesome.
When you're dreaming, do you experience sound at all? Is it like this or is it separate?
I think we're having some feedback.
We're getting an echo.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We've got gremlins tonight.
Jerry's the gremlin. Okay, wait. Let me think.
So sound in your dreams.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, I do experience sound.
Okay.
And I used to always dream that I was falling.
Oh, let's hear about that.
When I was younger, I had, it was a reoccurring dream, but I can't say that that it was like 5 times a week or, it's just, I had it enough that it was a reoccurring thing. So, and I would be falling and then kind of flying, but mostly falling. Now I would always wake up before I hit the ground. I never hit the ground. And I would purposely try to push myself out and fly.
Have you been successful at that?
I think I was a couple of times, yeah. Because when I would, when this would happen when I was a kid, I did look into dreams because of that dream of the falling. I think I was a teenager. And I did read that you should try to control your dreams and then just, make yourself fly. And so I was successful at that a couple of times.
It
And
feels wonderful.
it does. I
It's
know.
really empowering. So, do you on that line also, since I consider dream control in the lucidity vein, and that's just the next step over from what people call out of bodies. Have you had an out of body?
No, I don't think that I have.
Okay. And, you know, a lot of this is recall. So now this is kind of where we get into the juicy, meaty part of the interview. So, what do you think dreams are? What's going on with all that?
Well, from what I've read and what I ascertain from myself, I think that it's your subconscious. You know, I think it's you're working stuff out from maybe, you know, what you've been, if you've had something on your mind, you know, maybe you're working that out. Sometimes it is premonitions. It can be, you know, I think it's your subconscious just, you know, either giving you hints and clues, or it's trying to work stuff out, like if you're having a problem. Or so I think it's your subconscious. I guess I should have just said that.
Do you think that your dreams, so when you say subconscious and we throw that into the realm of dreams, is there a difference between, say, a personal dream that is dealing with your own content and then the actual experience of being lucid, which you have had, where you have control and there's more going on where you're not the only person driving that experience? Is there a difference? Is there more to this, or is it all just part of the unconscious?
Oh no, I think there's absolutely more to it. Yeah. Because there's certain people that I feel very connected to. And I think that when we're connected, we it's almost like our subconsciouses are connected. It's not like a hive mind per se. It's just it's almost like a
cloud.
Oh, I just see, like,
we're all connected to the
put
cloud.
your finger out and, you know, like a bolt of lightning or something, or you know how your little shock waves.
How about that we're connected to the cloud?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think we're connected to each other
Through the cloud.
Well, it might
with
be
Bitcoin.
Oh, Jerry.
Especially with Bitcoin.
I'd charge you for that.
But you know how you know, like we don't end where, like, at the top of our head, where like it's like 3 feet around us, or you know 12 inches above our head is where we really, you know, that's still part of us, right? Because I'm not saying this very well.
I think you're talking about our vessels, our physical vessels, and are actually our energetic bodies.
Well, there's an energetic
You're
field,
energetic.
like your aura would extend 12 inches up, and there's
Exactly.
supposedly another chakra up there.
Right, the 8th chakra.
Like the connection point to the cloud with Bitcoin.
So when you
but I see
on the
what
blockchain.
I see is I see like not so much a bolt of lightning, but just like an energy line that connects us. That's how I see it. I don't really see a
So
cloud.
if it connects us, and we're talking about our etheric field, our energetic bodies, and then we're tying this in context to dreaming and in specific lucidity, then that would be different than just your unconscious and your daily stuff that you're working out in this experience we're having.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that your I feel like, you know, I don't think we're ever really unconscious, unless, you know, not ever. I don't think ever. So
Even during surgery?
No, I don't think so. You're always, I mean, there's always a part of you that's still awake in there.
Do you think that's your etheric self or your, whatever you want to name? It could be your soul, whatever you want to call the energy that is you, that is housed in your body. So your body's in surgery, going through a procedure.
I think it's your subconscious.
So
it could be your etheric. I don't know.
Is
I don't
there
really
a
know the
difference
difference.
there? That's what I'm asking
I
you.
don't think
I'm
that
interviewing
there
you.
is. No, I'm sorry. No, I don't think that there is. I think the etheric and the subconscious are all rolled up into one. As far as how I feel, I've had so many things come through my subconscious, and well, and my gut, like this gut feeling. I think that's subconscious too. So I think there's so many different ways to, say it. And there's so many different, not ways to say it. There's, different meanings, or people say, well, it's your gut, it's your subconscious, it's your etheric. Well, I think that's, if you listen to yourself, it's all one, but it's not your brain per se, because your brain can really screw you up.
Isn't that really your intuition you're talking about?
Ego. I'm sorry, your ego. Yes, your intuition, which I think ties to the subconscious.
So when you're dreaming, how in your working out, separate ego from intuition or this otherness that you are? Do you have a way of doing that?
Yes. You have to pretty much check your ego at the door if you want to have any type of intuition or any type of communication, telepathically or non-verbally. Let's just put it that way. Non-verbal communication with anybody else. You cannot do it and have your ego.
Have you been able to communicate with others, even the dead, through a dream state or a deep state of meditation, a deep inner state that is kind of separate from pulling out of the physicality?
Yes, but I haven't had to be in a deep state of meditation.
Oh, okay. You just pull that up.
Yeah.
In this state.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
I've had a lot of communication with the dead.
Do you think that is there a difference then between when you are dreaming and where the dead are?
I think the dead are just like right next door, but in a different frequency.
Is a dream the same frequency?
No. I think the dream might be on it's either a higher or a lower frequency. Like it could almost be the same, but I mean, I think you could get it to the same frequency if you, if you were vibrating higher, or if you really, probably if you did have, we're good at meditating and you went into a deep meditative state. I'm sure it could be like that. I have not had that personally. There's always kind of been a veil. So it's almost like it's like if you lifted the veil and you were on the same wavelength as them.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I keep getting these text messages. Nobody ever texted me until now.
Until you're getting interviewed. So have you been, I know that you said you were not sleeping well currently, and sometimes we had chatted about this earlier. I find like when I'm waking up a lot, I actually have amazing dreams. Are you in some dream cycles recently? Can you share them with us?
I have had, yes, I have recently. One dream. It was so awesome. It was Jerry and I were somewhere, and like he was sitting on this old, it was like an old Ford, or it was just this big bodied car, and he was like sitting on the hood, and I was standing in front of him, and we were just talking, and we were laughing our asses off. And I didn't get a chance to look around. And this was right after we said, let's try to dream about each other. Let's try to meet on the astral. When we had that whole thing on that hive.
Mm-hmm.
It was like either that night or the next night. And then I didn't even get a chance to like look around. I just started to look around, and Steve woke me up. And I was like, damn it, I didn't even get to see if anybody else was there, because we were like dying laughing. And then so I woke up, and it just made me happy. And I love dreams like that, where it's like, yeah, I was having fun with my friends, and now I'm in a good mood.
Oh yeah, that sounds like, and that one also sounds to me like it was a lucid one. You were very conscious in it.
Yes, I was, because and it was, I think I was partially starting to wake up, like I was in that lucid, not so asleep, but not not awake for sure.
The hypnagogic state.
Yes, thank you.
That's the word.
I love that state.
Mm-hmm. It is juicy.
It is. And then let's see, there's two more that I've had in the last week. One was, oh my gosh, I can't remember if it was before I sent you that picture of the chemtrail cloud that had the colors in it.
Yes.
Or after, but there were like millions of tiny little drones, and those colors were coming out the back of them like in chemtrails. That was
wow.
one.
And this was in that same time period.
Mm-hmm.
So
this was probably about 2 weeks after. Maybe 3 weeks after.
This is part of what I'm personally looking for in talking about this stuff with people, is the line between what we're experiencing in what we call this conscious state and what we're experiencing in other states.
Yes.
And that's a solid connection. So
Absolutely.
It could be front loaded, sure, because it happened in your daytime life. And then in your night life, your night mind, it could have proceeded, but who knows? The timelines are what, especially when we're dreaming. Timelines don't exist.
Right, exactly. Well, and so then this next dream that I had, this was just a couple nights ago. And in fact, I told you, wow, I had a really weird dream last night, and I got to write it down. So I had been looking at, I went down a deep rabbit hole, and then I started looking into planes in Vietnam and stuff. And I was, doing some research about my dad, and I saw these planes that I had never seen before. They were really big, and it said they were there from like 68 to 69. I was thinking, those aren't F-100s. I don't know what kind of planes those are. So that night, I had a dream about those planes, and like I heard like a helicopter sound. Like I said, I can hear them from miles away, and they're unsettling to me for some reason. I have a feeling why, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Could be from living on military bases when I was a kid, stuff like that. I don't know. Could be a connection I had with my dad when he was shot down, and he was waiting for the helicopter to come get him. Because I had to see a therapist when he was in Vietnam because I was so upset.
Oh my.
So yeah, he was there 68 to 69. So I was 3 and 4.
Oh, that's formative.
Yeah. And, when my mom had me, she had a headache for 3 days. So my dad is like he took care of me for those first 3 days. So like
that first imprinting.
Right. Exactly. So I feel like, there's a huge connection there. So that could be one of the reasons, because I've thought about it, because it really bugs me. Like, I don't like that sound at all. And so I've tried to get away from, being negative about it. Anyway, so this plane, so I go outside because I hear, what sounds like helicopters, but then I see this plane, and it's the plane that I had looked at in the picture. just that day. So this was that night. And then the plane comes down, and then it changes into, no, I'm sorry. I thought it was a Black Hawk. No, that's right. That's what it was. Thought it was a Black Hawk. Then it was a big black Chinook. So the helicopter, because I was thinking the plane doesn't make sense. So it was a helicopter first. Then when it got to the ground, it was a plane. And I'd been researching about this plane crash also, but it was the plane I saw in the picture. And so it like transformed, and I just watched Transformers. So all these things like rolled into one, you know? I'm like, holy cow, okay, I guess I'm just getting all this out tonight. But then after it got on the ground, it was just this really weird feeling. Like it didn't crash. It just kind of floated down and then landed, and then it turned into the plane. And then Steve woke me up. So I don't know what was going to happen after that. Like I could see people, and it was in color. It was definitely in color. I could see the black, and then and the planes are gray and like a tan color. You know, they're like the camo, but they're not, you know, it's not that whole camo print. Anyway, it was definitely very weird.
Was the sound in it in your head, was it like in stereo, or was it like when you were watching, say, you know, something on your computer or in-house that's not surround sound?
No, it's in my gut.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. So what did you make of it in the end?
I think I didn't really think about it too much, but what I made of it is just like all these things rolled into one, you know, like it's just all this stuff I'm researching. I think, you know, it's got to come out somehow.
Right. But so, right, we get front loaded, and obviously, and you were speaking to this earlier, which was in your language, the unconscious, working this stuff out. And so do you think, though, the symbols in this dayside mindset of the stuff you're doing, in your case, the research and this association to these aircrafts and your father, and do you think those stood for something in your unconscious besides the front-loaded images that you had been dealing with? Or was it just strictly working out and filing what's going on in your day-to-day life?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, wow. You know, I'm sure it's part of, you know, what I'm doing in my day-to-day life. And then, you know, like I hardly ever watch movies, and I was at Ashley's, and so we had watched the Transformer movie. And because I think that's the first time I've had things turn into other things before, but that's usually been in like a super long dream where there's like 3 dreams in one, and it goes, you know, but this happened like succinctly, you know, as it was coming to the ground. And I think the helicopters are definitely a metaphor for some stuff.
Yeah, the symbols are potent, and I mean, clearly you can place them in your daily life as to, you know, why they would show up there, but it's a matter of what they represent. And we did get some background on that associated with your father in your early development. So the symbols are deep.
I think it means I need to call my dad because I've been thinking about him and I haven't called him, and I said I would. No, I mean, but there's other things too. But
well, that right there is significant, Suzanne. Right there alone.
Yeah,
if nothing else, it's like, and what if you call him and he says, you know, something significant that, you know, I was thinking about you, something to connect.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Hmm.
That would be awesome. I always love, those are like juicy to me. I love getting those.
Do you have deja vus?
I used to get them all the time, and I haven't had any probably in 2 years.
What do you think about deja vu?
I think for me, I think it's either, like leftover energy that you recognize, or it could be something from, another life, or past life, or, somebody you knew trying to, it could be um, like a spirit trying to show you something, or I don't know. It's definitely a recall. So
Well, when you're having a deja vu and when that happens, it's kind of,
mhm.
everything slows down. You stop, you want to capture it. You want to hold on to it. You want to relish it. And you want to pinpoint, why do I know this moment? Have you been able to ever pinpoint it? Like, this was some other episode in my life, or this was a dream, or have they all been completely mysterious where you were not sure why you were having them? Like, what, they didn't have a grounding point, so that would fall into another life, or
It's, for any of the ones that I really tried to suss out and figure out, it always ended up being a connection with someone,
how
somebody
so?
I was connected to at the time. Okay, so like I had so many deja vus when I was dating Gary. We went a lot of places, a lot of new places that I'd never been before, and I would get deja vu like I'd been there before, but I know he'd been there before, and we had this like energy. It was almost like a spark. There was just so much energy between us. So like I found him in the middle of Palo Alto one time. I had no idea where he was. Never gave me directions. I just followed my gut and found him
Oh,
when he was
wow.
working one day. I know, it was so freaking
That's
trippy.
significant. Yes.
Yes, so that's the kind of
That dude could
connection
have
we
been your
had.
soulmate.
I know. Well,
Seriously.
he screwed it up.
Well, there's so many do-overs. I mean, it seems like eternal do-overs.
Right? Yeah. So if that's the case, then, I, you know, we may have another chance. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he'll grow up.
Deja vu.
Right? But so it was that kind of so, it's that sparky connection that you get with people. I don't know. I've had that with on a different level as well, like with just friends, not so much, somebody I was involved with, more than friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and then I've also felt energy, uh, leftover energy, and I've seen it. So, I mean, I can see
What would
energy
you
in the
elaborate on
sky.
that? What do you mean by leftover energy?
So, it would be energy from, from long ago. What brings to mind is one time I was
Like
filming
residual
over,
energy?
yeah, residual energy. Yeah. Um, and I was looking down the road, and I just got this impression in my mind of um, like a like not one of those covered wagons, but like a wagon that you would haul stuff in with, and horses pulling, and then just like, going really fast, like you were going to town in a wagon, and you were hauling stuff, like Little House on the Prairie. But it was
Mm-hmm.
just, out on this one road that I always drive on. And it was actually over the bridge. It was over this bridge, and I was just looking down the bridge, and I just kept seeing that. So that's kind of a residual energy thing, and I can see the wavy lines and stuff. I mean, it depends on how, in tune I am right at the moment as well.
How would you
Like,
distinguish that from like your imagination?
oh, I could totally distinguish it from the two, because it's not something I think about. If I was going to imagine something, um, you know, like if I sat there and looked down the road and thought about, I wonder who's been here before. I don't know that I'd so much go to a wagon and horses right away. I probably would have started with like Native Americans. If, you know, if I'm playing the imagination game where, you know, I want to know, because I've done that before. I've gone to several places where Native Americans had villages and stuff. And
that is a form of remote viewing. So.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and I actually tried to capture like residual energy of like of dancing. There's this one place out by where they diverted Pewter Creek, and it's this low valley. They made these oh, what are they, where you drive on? They're just, you know, they made these hills where you just drive on. Canal, I guess it's a canal bank or something, because I think it floods in there. So
Could be an easement or embankment.
Embankment, yeah. And it's really beautiful where I was looking, and I was just, you know, I get drawn to different places, and then I just, you know, so I think part of that was my imagination. I wanted to see them dancing, and so I kind of imagined it. But I think, you know, I think it did happen there too. So,
What do you think so I'm looking for your ideas on your personal memory. So when we were talking about your memory of dreams that you had earlier, your memory of events in your life, and then the distinction between, or the juxtaposition between your memory and dreams and these deja vu experiences. What's the difference there? How are they separate?
oh God, I don't know. Maybe they're not separate. Maybe it's all kind of, you know, maybe your imagination are memories you pull from, or in the ether, or things that are out there.
Is it any more real than a memory of you and your father? A memory of you and your kids?
Any less real?
Or more? I mean, I'm going, you know, -0 to +0. I'm sliding these timelines.
That's interesting. I think it depends on the state you're in, like how you're feeling. If you're, you know, just kind of, if you're in your head, if you're not in your head, if you're listening to your gut, you know, it depends on what kind of a place you're coming from, I guess.
Well,
is what
for
I'm trying to
example,
say.
if you think back to the most visceral, realistic, lucid dream you've had that you can just still pull up, you can taste it, smell it, hear it. How is that different from any other tangible memory in your parent life here as, you know, Suzanne Potter-Thomas, you know, with the 3-year-old memory with your father or something like that? Is there a difference in the quality?
No, I don't. When I think about it, I don't think there is.
See, I find this is a fascinating place to ruminate on.
Yeah, it is. I've never really thought about this before.
It blurs the line between reality, imagination, and dreaming.
It does.
You know, if you're a really good visualizer and you could visualize an entire dimension, you could go live in it.
Oh yeah.
So once you leave your body, I think time doesn't exist, at least not in the way, you know, we know
that it exists here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm a very good visualizer. In fact, I would rather learn. I mean, I can read and comprehend reading, but I think I learn better visually and hands-on, doing it myself.
I think most people do. And
I
Yeah, I think
definitely
so,
do.
and
too.
that's the
Yeah.
reason icons are so popular or have become popular.
Yeah,
Do you
definitely.
do you experience any significant amount? I know I asked this question earlier, but we're at a deeper place in drilling this information down. So when you think about characters in dreams, and particularly the ones that really stand out, have they pushed back? Does it feel like they're not you? Has there been a true interaction? Have you taken information in from characters in dreams?
I know that I have, definitely. None recently. There hasn't been any interaction other than, that one dream with Jerry where we were laughing, but like,
Right.
I don't remember us, nobody was cracking jokes. We were just laughing our asses off and we were really happy. And, and that was just like a
I was ripping on Steve.
second. He's gonna wake you up any second. You're not gonna be able to look around anymore. Otherwise, we're here.
The only reason I ask again is sometimes the second time around with the question actually has jarred the information out. So I just wanted to see how that has evolved as we've gone into this conversation. What do you think happens when you die? And this is kind of the ending of this. Essentially, before we ask questions, it seems to me that there's a clear connection between etheric dream state and what we perceive as death on this end. So what do you think about that?
I think that we just, we go on. Our bodies don't, but we do. Our soul, whatever you want to call it, I think it's our essence, our sustenance.
Is that different
What
than
makes
when you're
us
dreaming?
us? No, I don't think it's different than when you're dreaming. No, I think we're all, to me, it's all one. I mean, since I've never astral projected, I don't know what that's like. I mean, I've been able to control dreams and stuff. So that's, obviously I'm not looking at it's not like I'm looking down and I see my body and stuff. So I'm not I don't feel disconnected from my body. But definitely when we die, we don't go on. I don't know. I mean, if I was going to go on with the body, it wouldn't be the body I'm in now. It would be like my 16-year-old body. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, this is well, it's fascinating because when we're talking about the ether, essentially, whatever it is, the cloud, whatever that is, us in a non-physical, non-gravitational experience, it's different. Yet we are somehow weighted down here, and so with the whole idea of timelines and multiverse and all the stuff that's swimming around our collective conscious now these days, just in general conversation, it's not so esoteric anymore. I'm questioning what's the difference. I mean, essentially, could we be dead right now, Suzanne, and we're just incarnate? Are we actually, what's this experience we're having?
Or what if we're in a life review right now?
Thank you, Jerry.
Yes, I have thought of this often.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say we're not? We could be. I mean, can you go outside? And I hardly ever wear shoes. So I'm like always walking on the earth, and I'm always connected. I've always been very connected to the earth. I've always planted a ton of stuff. I've just always digging my hands in the dirt, and who's to say that this isn't, like a heaven on earth, or have, I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, we could be,
Or hell.
Right. What makes this tangible, more tangible than we perceive our dreams to be, or our past to be, or our sacred dead to be? What makes this the focus?
probably only because I know I'm, in theory, awake instead of dreaming.
But how do you get to
Allegedly.
that conclusion?
It's probably programming. Honestly, I don't know. That's all I can say. We're programmed that way to believe.
Suddenly,
we're
like
awake.
Looney
I don't
Tune
know.
cartoons are running through my head. Bugs Bunny with with
animals.
Broomhilda and the hairy beast one that he did the cool little hairdo on. And yeah, I mean, these are real questions that I ponder often, especially when things become absurd. And as we look around, right, things are very absurd, and they seem more out of line or bigger, gigantic, more melodrama around us. So it's starting to feel more dreamlike than it used to, at least in my memory.
Watching the
past.
news is absurd to me. Like, I can't. I totally go there. I'm like, am I awake? Are they really? Is this really happening? Like, they're really trying to sell this to someone? You know, how could this be? I think that all the time. And the only time I ever watch the news is when I go to Ashley's or Andrew's. Although it's not very often on at Andrew's.
Diarrhea.
But it's a good example of the fact that there is this sense of melodrama around it, this larger than life, brighter craziness outside of, of yourself, and it's all looking absurd. And so when we classically look at dreams, that's kind of a characteristic of dreaming.
But my dreams are not as absurd as the news.
Well, then that begs the question: which side? Which side are you really on? Where are you then? Is this the dream?
Oh boy!
Because, as we ascertained earlier, pardon me, you don't just fall into a dream and have complete control. You don't just most people don't. Most people don't have a lot of control, and so when they finally get it, it's a grand feeling to fly around or pop around and start moving your reality. But that's a state of evolution, really, and of a lot of times hard work. So here we are in the melodramatic realm, the upside down world, and
that's where we are
questioning what the hell are we dreaming?
Well, and I have questioned that too. A lot.
I think this is happening. So, and then it also begs the question of, so for what we're considering newer souls coming in, I guess. So the younger generations, they're coming into what looks like this craziness, but it's the normal for them.
If they're human.
If they're human, and that's again ties into all of this. So, but those of us from Generation X, which I think we all three here are,
I'm not.
We don't have.
That's right. Jerry's trans.
I'm a liminal.
You're liminal. You're in between.
I'm in between.
Yes.
Well, I am too, aren't I?
I think you are.
Yeah,
actually.
We're both 65.
Yeah, we're both 65. So
I'm solid Gen X.
There was like a nothing there because they tried to lump us in with the baby boomers. I'm like, we're not baby boomers.
And we're not.
We're like after the freaking World War II.
But we can agree that things were not so I mean, even though there was a lot of drama, there was a lot of stability holding down the realm. So, and whatever you want to call it, you know, we can get into the whole slavery system and all that, but it was not so volatile.
No, it was not.
And it is now. And we are all clocking the difference in the sun, whatever that is. And, you know, we could go on and on. The Hive talks about all this stuff, and all these people we listen to speculate into these other realms. So I'm just trying to ground the fact that we all three here can at least agree that things are dramatically different in an absurd way almost, and not
Absolutely
not the same. And it's not like grandma said in the good old days, you know.
no, exactly. I know. So like,
has it really changed, or are we just now witnessing the craziness?
Or
You
has
know,
there been a
like-
flip?
well, see, that's another thing
Or both,
too,
or
because
both.
not everybody witnesses it. No, well, if you talk to any member of your family that doesn't, you know, go to these lengths that we do,
Like my
and they,
dad.
you know, believe, right, like my parents, they believe what the news is telling them,
Right.
blah blah blah.
If it's not in the Wall
You
Street
know, I
Journal,
mean,
it didn't happen.
I know that they don't believe every little detail, but they're in a stage of their life where they're not questioning things anymore, you know, like they're
Well,
or
like
they're,
my
or
parents
like when you have
never
little kids.
questioned anything.
Oh, okay.
I think I think that
mine
holds
did.
true for a lot, for the majority, really, that it's always been the minority that's woken up and said cluck cluck. You know, like
Right, exactly.
what's going on here? What's this fence? And
Yes.
but it right now it does seem like there's a wave. We're riding a terminus here, I think.
That's
Most
because we're heading for the
definitely.
reboot.
Well,
but-
but some people say we rebooted in 2012.
They're probably part of the Galactic Federation
Or-
of Light.
We all died in 2012 and we're all dead. I mean, there's so many theories out there that's like,
were we alive though? This is where are we really? Where are we? I think we're non-local, all of us.
I think we are non-local.
But forgot.
Not all of us. Okay, that's a whole different conversation, but certainly a lot of the people we all interact with, because we're all trying to make sense of what's going on.
And I think the more you try to make sense of it, the more you realize you don't know jack shit.
Well,
I mean,
there's
there's
something that feels like we flipped. Like we actually did an antiodramia, which is just the pendulum swung to the other side, and now we've flipped.
Was that on June 1st?
Well, I don't know
earlier?
when, because what's the time? What is
Well,
June 1st? You know what I mean? What's what, Jerry?
That's when I noticed something. But I also noticed something last November, a similar pendulum flip. I wrote about it. But I don't want to take up a show. It's an hour now. So.
Yeah. So at this point, this has been a wonderful interview. And at this point, we like to ask questions from our audience, our 9 people in the chat.
Woohoo! Thank
Yay,
you,
and
9
I'm going to
people.
look over there. I know we love you all. They're all familiar faces.
That's
They're
awesome.
familiar avatars that we love. Hi, Darcy. Okay, Darcy's out there.
Awesome.
Omar.
Hello, everyone.
Nomad.
Nomad.
Yay. Greatest potential. Sean Shameless.
Hi,
Hello.
Sean.
These are all our shout outs.
Capitola.
So, James cruising for steak.
James.
Yep. So we're opening it up to all of you out there. Do you have questions for Suzanne?
What's that?
I love it. What is it? Oh, it's pretty awesome. We are the ghosts in the machine. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
It's
You know how
Nomad.
many times I've heard that recently?
Yeah, it seems to be coming around again. That meme.
Yes.
I don't see any questions coming in. So I know we're in a delay. We're on like a 30-second delay,
Yeah.
but I don't see.
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
There's a great conversation going in there, as there always is, but I don't see anything specific to a question. So I suppose with that, we're going to wrap this up. Suzanne, this was wonderful. Thank you for being our second guest.
Thank you.
And
Totally
stimulating
awesome.
this.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. And stimulating this conversation, I think that needs to just continue to grow. Like, we're really just trying to understand, where are we?
And you're giving me some ideas for a topic for Friday night. For the
Oh,
holidays.
cool.
So we could talk about where the whole thing about where you go when you die and how is that separate from dream time and astral and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
It all feeds into the hive, right?
Yeah. Everything does.
We get so many good, like we bounce so many good things off of each other there, and there's just
not only there throughout the week when we chat.
Yeah, and throughout the week, exactly.
Accumulate this
so
pile
much
of
going on.
crap to talk about. So,
Jerry, it looks like we have a couple questions.
Oh, okay.
Why don't you roll over there?
Somebody asked before, what was your experience with the person named Failed?
Oh.
And then it was also stated he doesn't mind you talking about it.
Okay. I noticed he was in the chats last night, and just wanted to talk, and then as soon as I saw he wanted to talk, he said he was going to go to bed, and so I've said this to him. You and I have worked on this, Jer, where we have communicated telepathically.
Yes.
And we did a pretty good job. So, and I frequently send love and send, little words of encouragement to my friends and stuff. And last night, I did say it's going to be okay. And I've said it several times to him because he's going through kind of a rough spot, and I can identify with that. And, how I'm like the mom of everyone. So I've always been the mom, no matter how old I was. And he heard a voice say, "It's going to be okay," at 1:50 a.m. And he sent that message at 12:50 that I saw. And I said, "It's going to be okay." And I sent him love, and he said, that he heard this voice, and what was that about? And I said, "Well, I told you it was going to be okay. And I've said it several times to you." I've expressed that message to him, not verbally, but, in my mind, I've sent that to him, and I guess he heard it last night. So
that's pretty great.
Yeah, I thought it was really great. Because as soon as he said that, I was like, well, that was me. You finally heard me. Because I've been telling him it for a long time. So, well, I mean, for a few weeks now, but I say it several times. So, several times a week, I will say that. So it's pretty great that he heard me.
Let's see. Omar says he asked one. Let's see what he's got here. I have an understanding that non-human looking entities can displace a person. Possession is an example. I've been catching them peeps trying to flip. Okay, so is that the question?
He's been catching.
That wasn't really a question. I think it was.
It's like a
going back
response.
We were talking earlier about dreams and getting possessed, walk-ins, whatever. When you're dreaming, when you're out of body, or taken to a cloning center, perhaps wherever. It was an earlier part of when you guys were talking. We were talking about where
Okay.
to go.
Yeah, I haven't been looking over here, so I just assumed.
Oh, I've never had a dream like that
Well, that's
that I know of.
I think that like the stuff that Donald Marshall goes through,
Mm.
and he even says it's REM cloning, that they take your consciousness when you're in REM.
Mm.
So that's I think the idea there.
Here is his question. What do you think about bows and how other people can interface into your mind and push you out? I think he means,
I think
is
you have
that OBEs?
Yes.
You have to be really
yes.
strong.
Yeah, I've never experienced
Really
that.
strong and know yourself. I've never had that happen, but I have had where I was overwhelmed. I think I manifested some stuff that was pretty overwhelming and had a really bad experience. It could have taken over, but
Yeah, and you did outline that earlier. So it led me to believe definitely you have a strong sense of control.
yes, I'm a control freak.
Greatest potential says, dream more of a favored son. And then he's got a tagline joke while the other son fixes things. But
That was
but
part of the other conversation.
Okay, that's an interesting question, actually. Like, do you have?
We were talking about the context was dreaming yourself into a new position in life.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I've never thought about it doing dream wise. I've done intention work that's totally worked. It's done great.
I've heard from a few people now that at some point in our past, maybe we went to a collective dream time, a group shared dream time, and that's where we did our creating, and it would then manifest here. So everything was created in dream time, and then it will materialize on the 3D plane in Midgard, as it were.
Oh, I'm gonna have to start practicing that more then.
And Darcy brings up, so Og's been on my mind today because I watched a couple of his posts, and so he's so brilliant. So when she says,
or
deja vu,
we don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's the reality of everything right now. But
Yeah.
Time slips, so. Or not seamless time slips. Deja vu. Og says it's not seamless time slips.
What is it?
Let's see.
So what does he say that it is?
I don't know that much about Og. I've only just discovered him since Jerry sent me a couple links like a week ago. So I've been I want to get him on and talk to him.
I think his version of time is more of a virus, a mind virus.
Yeah. But what does he say about deja vu? I can't remember if I watched that whole video where he was talking about deja vu.
I think he equated it to what it was like in Westworld, where they wiped out the old OS and put a new host in. I'm sorry.
Oh.
And then, remember the guy, he went nuts. He thought he was like the old preacher or something.
Yes.
I didn't watch that.
Sure.
But no, I understand.
It's genius.
I know. I just
handmade by Crowley.
So, and then Nomad has a question here. What's the best psychedelic you've ever tried?
Oh, we forgot to add that question in.
Yes, we need to type that in. I'll do that right now.
I tried mushrooms when I was like 24, but I didn't really get any. I didn't have any like, woohoo type of, it wasn't like a psychedelic experience from what other people, I'm only going off of what other people have said their experiences are. I could have a whole psychedelic experience just, if I think real hard about something.
Right. I mean,
I know. I feel like I can just plug into.
Manifest it. Yeah, I can plug right into it.
You're kind of like me in that, I've done acid like 3 or 4 times, but I never like tripped. I never had that ego death that everyone talks about.
Yeah, I've never experienced that.
I don't think I
So,
want to be honest. So I probably won't.
yeah,
It's
I
later
probably
than
won't
you
either.
think, Jerry.
No, it's only 22 right now.
No, I love that line though from movies. It's always like Season of the Witch from Romero, I think, which is his opus film, but that it's a meme they throw through it, when she's transforming into what becomes her powerful self, which is the transformation into a witch. And they're constantly saying it's later than you think, Joan.
Omar says
Have
that
to.
deja vu is actually a timeline perception. I assume he means an alternate timeline.
I would, yeah, I would totally buy that.
He also said that
I could see that.
avatars in a mental hive mind with holographic projections, which is totally the way I see it. But anyway.
That's interesting.
Let's see.
So
Obviously,
I mean, everything is possible.
Sure. And nothing's possible. We could just be meatbags that die.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Although I have too much intuition to know that this is nothing.
It just reminded me. I just heard someone last night say that people with a green aura are evil.
Well, that Swordglow book he put out many years ago.
I think it was him, but believe it or not.
Because he's always saying green is like unhealthy. I think of green in the earth and Gaia and all this, growing things.
Yeah.
But there are shades of green. I understand the earthy green, the sickly, like pussy green. But he is associating oftentimes green with all that negative energy.
I don't agree with
green
that.
to me is heart energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's what always struck me odd about him, and it still does. You just can't throw green under that bus. That it's that type. And then you think about Agartha and Shambhala and all this. The green light is very sacred.
I believe green is very sacred. I love green. It's my favorite color.
It's a beautiful color, and it definitely translates to etheric energy also.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this is why we have conversations, though. It's trying to piece together these realms of thought.
Yes, and what I always do is I may look at work from a lot of different people that they've done. And then I just, whatever resonates with me is, what I will, like put in my tool bag, like I have a little tool bag and I'll put those little tools in there and then I'll remember those later on when I need them or whatever. But I don't think everybody has the answer. That's why we're all talking.
This is why we need to talk. So on that, we are trying to keep these shows at about an hour and 15 minutes. So
which we are at right now.
Yes. Yay! So we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you everyone in the chat, and Suzanne, I love you. Thank you for coming on.
I love you too. Yes. I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Awesome.
Thank you, Nish.
Thank you, Jer.
Thank you, Jerry.
Viewers. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great night, everyone.
Same time, same bad channel.